completing the deed to help us recognize the Lord's ownership of all of our stuff was a very powerful experience for Bev and me. I just love what Psalm 24 verse 1 says. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it. So I want to encourage you. Make a copy of that deed. Put it someplace to remind yourself of His ownership. You know, I love that the Bible reveals to us that God's the owner and that we're simply to be faithful managers of whatever He trusts to us. As 1 Corinthians 4 verse 2 tells us, it is required in stewards or managers, that's us, that one be found faithful. Now, I don't know your financial situation. Maybe you've lost your job or you're drowning in debt or you're faced with some other financial challenge. And if you're in a situation like that, I really want to encourage you to focus on meditating, on really making part of your life Luke 16, verse 10. Here's what it says. He who is faithful in a very little thing is also faithful in much. In other words, handle whatever money you have, do it faithfully God's way. And in His time, my experience is He's going to honor your faithfulness. Well, let's take a look at the Compass Money Map. This is the journey that Bev and I went on once we learned God's way of handling money. And we had a dream, and that dream was to reach true financial freedom. And we defined that as a place where we'd have no debt, even our home would be paid for, and we'd have enough income through investing, saving, and retirement where we wouldn't have to work as long as we lived modestly. Then we'd be in a position to volunteer all or part of our time to our church or a ministry without the need to earn a salary. And if the Lord called us to remain in business, we'd simply be able to give most of what we earned to the work of Christ. But we realized the only way to get there was to break it down into smaller destinations on our journey. And that's what the Compass Money Map is all about. There are 7 destinations on the map, and it tells you where you are, where you want to go, and what's the next step to take. And when I say focus, I mean to focus like a laser on reaching the next destination. You know, you can hold your hand pretty close to a 75-watt light bulb and not get burned, but a 75-watt focus laser can cut through 14 inches of steel. So I want you to make real progress on your financial journey by focusing on the next destination. Now, the Bible tells us it's super important to be generous during your journey. And when we started, I wasn't. If I gave a few dollars to my church during a week, I thought it was a huge sacrifice. But once I learned what God said about generosity and that He intended it to be a blessing in my life, we started giving 10% of our income. In fact, our once and for all decision for this week was to be generous givers. So after starting our 10% giving, we decided to increase it every year and did so until we were giving about 30%. And we were loving it.
We're Mark and Wendy Nation.
We have 2 dogs, Duke and Coco, who we love very much, and 4 kids who we also love, Wesley, Jessica, Katie, and Olivia.
Yes, we do. And a great day for us is hanging out at the beach and reading a book. Signing the deed really symbolized the truth that God does own everything. And that's quite freeing also. When you realize God owns everything and we're just a steward. And as you begin to think about it and realize God is going to give you everything you need to accomplish His purposes in your life, that is incredibly freeing.
Hey, my name is Dewey and this is my wife Denise. We're the Kemps and we are high school sweethearts. We've been married 36 years. We love each other like crazy. I just feel like for me, what I need to do is to give where it costs me something. It's very easy for me to give out of obedience in terms of knowing, whether it's tithing or giving from a sense of, just a basic need and that kind of thing. But when it really pushes me to the window pane, and I see that it puts me in a position where I have to really trust God, that faith aspect of giving, where you're just going to trust Him. I really love to see what it is that God does because it's outside of my realm of control.
Also, our youngest son in college, I saw him write checks for different people that needed help, maybe a missions trip, but maybe it was just food on the table. That just makes the circle complete.
So hopefully we're teaching our kids a thing or two.
What an encouraging story. Well, Destination One on the Compass Money Map is to save $1,000 for emergencies because guess what? Emergencies happen. And to start using a budget, I like to call it a spending plan. Now, we don't really address in detail a spending plan in this study, but you can learn how to use one simply by either enrolling in our Navigating Your Finances small group study or by visiting our website, compassone.org. And don't forget, be faithful to select and practice your one another verse this week. It makes all the difference in your relationship when you do.